Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Pacific Game Calls. I'm Jeff Stanfield with, I forgot, I kept waiting for you. Did I screw this up already? With the world famous Andy Shaver. Specific, got any kind of promo codes or anything?
BHP25 saves 25% at checkout.
Check them out.
Easy
It's a good Christmas gift. I'm telling you right now, if you're buying Christmas presents, you want to buy them coffee, a duck call, that's the two things to go get, or some booze.
There you go.
So you'll either go to Bangtail, Pacific, or Dirty Duck Coffee. With us today, in-house, in the big city of Knox City, Texas, Mr. Tyler Webster with Birds, Booze, and Buds podcast. I got it right?
Yes, sir.
I usually screw something up.
Yeah, you got her.
You're on YouTube also, aren't you?
Yeah, I just started.
The same handle?
Yep, same thing on YouTube. I just started my YouTube channel. Well, I've been posting GoPro videos for years just because I like watching my dogs work during the off season because I get bored. Yeah. But this year I decided to take it a little bit more seriously and started putting some more stuff up.
Yeah. How much does like the GoPro hinder you whenever you're out? Is it a headpiece or a chest piece?
Headpiece. Yeah, I wear a head strap right on top of my hat. It doesn't bother me at all. It's kind of second nature at this point. Yeah.
Like when you first started, were you like, oh, this is a pain in the ass?
Well, I learned real quick when I first started. We were talking before we came on how much I hate editing.
Yeah.
And so I used to just turn it on when I got in the field. First of all, GoPro batteries are shit. They're getting much better now with the Enduro batteries and stuff like that. But after some years of doing it, I was like, shit, I'm just going to turn them on when the dogs go on point or the dogs start getting birdie. I mean, that's what everybody wants to see anyways.
Right.
You know, you want to see, and that's what I want to see. I drive a lot of miles every year just watching my dogs go on point. That's the whole reason I do it. And so now it doesn't bother me at all. I mean, I've been doing, I think my first GoPro was a 3 or something like that. I got the 10 now. So I've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, I remember when they first came out, and I mean, it was just the battery life was shit on them.
Garbage.
And like, if it got cold at all, like, forget about using it. They've come a long way since the first inception of the GoPro.
But everybody loved them.
Oh yeah, I mean, what
Still
a game
do,
changer!
yeah.
What a game changer they are.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a ton of technology packed into a teeny little package, right? I mean, and now with I haven't upgraded to the 11 yet because what the hell's the point?
Right.
I'm running the 10 still, but with the enduro batteries on the 10, even in North Dakota where I'm from, I was hunting last week. It was 6 degrees outside, and one of those batteries, I still got like an hour of film time in 4K.
Oh, wow.
I mean, like you can't beat that.
No.
I don't know that an actual video camera has a whole lot better, and I got 20 freaking batteries that I always carry with me too.
Well, and I mean, you can just set them up so easily. Like today, we had one in the kill hole facing the blind. We had 2, one over this way, one over this way, and then 2 camera guys. But I mean, it's just, you're not going to put a camera guy out there in the kill hole, while people shoot over the top of you. But
I think we should sometimes because it would look really cool.
But put a GoPro out there,
for
and
sure. Yeah, and I don't do a ton of duck hunting, but the one thing that we did start doing a little bit this year is I started putting a GoPro on a tripod, like right in front of the mojos, like pointing up, and you can watch those things really coming in and finishing. Yeah. And then I think we only hit 2 or 3 cameras with falling ducks, but worth it.
The introduction of the field camera like the GoPro and hunting has really changed the way that people look at things. Like I used to watch a film of like an airplane. And I used to love to watch from the pilot's view, what he sees coming into land and stuff. And it's the same dynamics with the GoPro. You can look at different angles that you don't see, like to put them in a kill hole. Right. The camera in the kill hole is completely different because all you're seeing is these birds fixing land. All of a sudden, you get to see them getting crushed,
right? Or
whatever it is. And it's changed, but it's also changed the hunter because you'll see so many guys that do it on their own that they're doing more stuff for the camera than they do the actual hunt.
Yeah, and I'm always going to just be me. Like I've just like you guys, I've had the pleasure of doing a few TV shows, and I'm going to be me no matter what. Like I just kind of forget after a couple minutes that the camera guy's even there. But like I talk to my dogs the same way I talk to my dogs, whether the GoPro's on or not, like, I mean, and I think that one of the things that people really do like, just like you're saying, it's that point of view where people are actually on the walk with you. Like, I mean, they're riding right on the like they're seeing what you're seeing. Right. So you're seeing, when I'm walking up to a dog on point, I'm anticipating where I think the birds are going to get up from. And the other really cool thing about the GoPros is you can take some really, really sick screen grabs out of the video, and you get those moments where that pheasant or quail or hunt or whatever it is coming up right in front of the dog's face, and it's right there. And that person gets to see that. And like, I mean, just like with you guys, there's a lot of people that don't get a chance to do what we get to do as much as we get to do it. And, that might get a lot more people wanting to go and have those experiences and seeing what that's actually like.
Yeah.
Do you have a real job also?
I have a couple of mail contracts for the U.S. government, but I have really good employees. I'm a contractor. They're subcontractors. They work for me. So that's what keeps the lights on. That's what lets me go chase birds 150 plus days a year.
Because most people don't have real jobs that do this.
No.
Or what I call a real job. I have a real job, but it's not a real job.
Sure.
8 to 5
it's,
or
it's
office.
not a real.
Yeah. When I've been bird hunting since I was 8, and I had to go through, my 20s. I was a bar manager. So I've always worked around trying to figure out jobs that I could be out in the field as much as I possibly could. So getting off work at 2:00 in the morning, going home and sleeping for 5 hours, getting up and going chasing birds all day, and then getting a little nap before you went back to work at 5 was how I did it in my 20s. And then I just got stupid lucky. And I was sitting reading the paper back when people actually used to read papers. And there was a classified ad in there about a guy who was a contractor out of Kansas who had a route up. He needed a driver close to me. And he's like, well, I'll pay you this amount of money to go drive around the country. And I was like, fuck, I pay that much I pay way more than that to go do it on my own time, So why not get paid for it? And then it just kind of evolved into now I got a couple of contracts and
go ahead and enlighten me.
How does that work?
I'm curious about what you do then.
Yeah. So in the really rural areas, I'm sure that I don't know if that's the case here or not, but in the rural areas, like up in North Dakota, I get a lot of notifications for Wyoming, Utah, Oregon, all those kind of places. In the small town post offices, like in my post office in Stanley, North Dakota, there's 4 mail routes that go out of there. 2 of them are ran by postal employees, and the other 2 are contract routes. So, and I think that the post office in general is probably going to go to more of the contract routes because then they don't have to pay any benefits. I don't get health insurance, none of that kind of shit.
Well, they save money that way.
They save money. Yeah, they pay me a lump sum. And then the only kicker is that it has to get done every day. If you miss, so the contracts are 6 years long, and then once you get them, you can renew them forever. But if you miss 2 days over the course of a 6-year contract, they can pull your contract. So you have to have people that you can depend on, or you have to do it yourself.
Right.
And so when I got my first contract, me and my cousin got it together. We were thinking, we're going to be able to work 13 days a month each and be able to make a decent living. There's about 25, 26 work days in an average month. You don't deliver on Sundays. You don't deliver on holidays. Well, he got a girlfriend. First mistake. He started working less and less, and I started working more and more. And eventually it got to the point where I was like, dude, either you need to start doing a little bit more around here. He went back and was working for his parents they have a meat shop in Minot, North Dakota. And he was doing more of that. And I was like, dude, if you don't want to do this anymore, I'll hire somebody and I'll be able to pay them less than I'm paying you because you're a full partner in this deal. And when that happened, he's like, yeah, I'm out. I don't want to drive an hour to work and an hour home every day. And it was kind of like the serendipity moment in my life where I was like, okay, so I'm making $300 a day off this route. I can pay somebody $150 to do it. I'm still making money when I'm not working.
Right.
And then the route right next to me came up for bid as well. And I got that one. And now I haven't worked since July.
That's badass.
Yeah.
So you have 2 routes.
I got 2 routes. Yep.
And you're making $300 a day and you don't have to do nothing. That's a good job.
That's not bad. It's not bad.
$1,500 a week.
Yeah.
Or actually, that's more than that. It's $1,800 a week because you work on Sundays.
We don't work on
Saturday.
Sundays. We work
Sundays.
on Saturdays. Yeah.
So you're making $85,000 a year and not working.
That's about right.
I'd say it's fucking genius, right?
Yeah, that's about right.
That's a pretty damn good deal. That's a good, and that's smart though.
And then what do? You just like put out a wanted ad for like in that area?
Yeah. So the 2 people that I got that were my main drivers, both of them were the only good thing that ever happened to me on Facebook. I put out an ad in the local classified ads. So Powers Lake is a little town. It's about 20 miles from me. And both the ladies that work for me are both single moms, and
they have to work.
They have to work, and they can drop their kids off at 8:00 in the morning. They get to work at 8:30, and they're done with work by 1:30 or 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And they're making $150 a day.
150 a day, and I provide the vehicle and the gas. and all the repairs.
That's a good deal.
That's
Yeah.
a really
Yeah.
good deal. I mean,
Yeah.
shit, she's making $750 a week or $900 a week.
Everything's bring home. She doesn't have any overhead expenses.
That's it. I want them to show up and drive.
She thinks she hit the lotto.
Yeah, and that's why I've had really good employees. I've had the same two girls been working for me now for 3 years. And then I got backups for them as well that are kind of semi-retired people that just kind of want to work 1 day a week, or if somebody gets sick or whatever, because like I said, it has to go out. And so, and plus when I'm gone doing this, you know, some things happen or people want to take a day off occasionally, I suppose.
Yeah.
And
Do you cover vacation days and stuff ever?
I do. So when I get back home from the trip that I'm on right now, I'll head back to North Dakota end of January. And then when I get back over the course of the winter, if they want to take 2 weeks off and go on a vacation, go ahead. I'll run the routes. It doesn't
You pay
matter.
them while they're gone too?
No. But the other thing that I do is, I learned this lesson pretty quickly, that if you don't know the person before you hire them, you have to give them incentive to make sure that they show up every day, right?
Yeah,
other than just paying them.
Right.
So when they sign a contract with me, they if they work for 2 weeks and decide it's not for them and they want to quit, they don't get paid for the month. They don't get paid the days that they worked. Like each month is an individual contract.
Right.
So at the end of the month, they get paid for the whole month. If they decide to quit mid month, and and I kind of had to do that because I'm doing this kind of shit.
Right. Yeah.
Like-
you're not just, hey, I'm not coming in tomorrow.
Right. Like
Well-
I'm right now I'm 20 hours from home or whatever.
Yeah.
And I can't just get a call today at 3:00 saying, hey, I'm done. I'm not working anymore. And I wouldn't be able to get back in time.
Right.
Like it's not possible.
Right.
So I come up with this idea to just make them sign a contract that each month is an individual contract. If you guys want to, give me your 2 weeks, and if you guys want to be done, you can be done. I'll pay you, all that kind of stuff. But it's the only way that I could kind of protect myself to make sure that I did get the right people in, and it was the best thing I ever did.
Did you learn that lesson the hard way, or is that something you figured out ahead of time?
Yeah, no, I hired a young guy. He was like 20, 21 years old, which I was 20 and 21, and I wasn't reliable at 20 and 21, so I should have known better, but I liked the kid. And so like it's one of those things that you're not really going to get for the first week and a half, because like our routes are 155 miles every day on gravel roads with like 120, 130 farmsteads in it, and you got to do it the exact way. So I mapped it out on GPS, and so you get in and you follow the blue line. Every place there's a stop, you can hit the icon, it'll tell you what the address is, what the name is, all that kind of shit. But so for the first week, I kind of have to eat the fact that I'm paying them even a training wage, and I'm taking my time for the first week. Then the second week, they're kind of out there on their own. I'm by my phone answering any questions they have, if they have any problems or anything like that. And so I went through the first week training. Second week, he kind of did it by himself. I ended up having to help him out a lot. And then the last day, he's like, it was like a Thursday or something like that. And it was actually when I was on this trip. Thankfully I was only in Kansas. I was only 15 hours away. He's like, yeah, this isn't for me. I'm done. I was like, can you finish out the next couple of days at least? Because I'm where I'm at, and I got to drive back home now. I got to drive 15 hours to get there. I won't make it by tomorrow to cover the route. And he's like, no, I'm done.
Jeez.
And so I had to call in a favor to my cousin that doesn't work for me anymore. And he had to drive out and everything else. And it was fine. I mean, like, whatever. But I was like, I'm not doing that again. Like that sucks,
Right.
Right. And I get it. I mean, like at 20 years old, I mean, I was probably asking a little bit too much of the guy to expect him to be responsible enough to really rely on. That's why now all the women that work for me are between like 40 and 60, and they're all, like I find that they're more dependable.
Single moms are very dependable.
Yeah.
Now, if you own a strip club, probably not.
Probably not.
But in the real world, a single mom,
yeah,
she has to work.
They have to work, and they also like they know what life's about at that point.
Yeah.
By the time they get to be their mid 30s and 40s, they've been dealing with this shit for a long time, and they're just they're good, reliable people, and I do my best to make sure that I take care of them as best as I can as well. I mean, like when I get back home from this big trip, like I took off. I was telling you, Andy, before we started recording. I took off July 25th from North Dakota, and I didn't get back from my first trip this year until September 9th. And I was calling my employees a couple times a week, just checking in, making sure everything was going well. And finally, the one lady, Marie, she said, just stop fucking calling me. Like, we're fine. You got backup vehicles. We got vehicles. We got a charge account at the local mechanic shop. We got everything else covered. Don't worry about it. Enjoy yourself.
Right.
Those are the kind of people
That's
you want to
badass.
have working for you.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, when you don't have to worry about shit.
Yeah. Yep.
Even it relates to this business. I've got guides I don't worry about.
Sure.
I don't, you don't have to worry about the little things you don't have to worry about. You have to worry about other things. And every business is different.
Yeah.
But the people doing their job and showing up and being sober and all that crap, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
Now, do y'all go in the post offices or do they have everything? So you're just like a postal employee.
Just a postal employee. Yeah. The only thing is that's different and in my mind a lot better about being a contractor is we don't have to deal with the bureaucracy of the post office because everybody knows that that's a freaking nightmare.
All the stupid meetings they go to over stupid shit.
Yep. And, safety briefings and all that kind of stuff. Like our deal is we show up, we sort the mail, we deliver the mail, we come back to the post office, drop our shit off and we leave. That's it.
I bet the employees are jealous of your people.
Oh, I'm sure they are. Other than the fact that, they get great benefits and retirement,
Yes.
I mean, like with this, you don't get that, but
your people make more per day than they do though.
It's probably pretty similar. I certainly would make more per day if I was going to be out there running the route than what the postal employees would get.
Can you pick up some more routes?
I can. I've thought about it. Actually, I bid on another one this year that would have connected my other two together. So it basically would have given me like a 60 by 40 square chunk of country. Like it's all basically the same thing. Routes butt up to each other, all that kind of shit. And I got underbid. It's all closed bids. You don't get to see what anybody else is bidding. I got underbid by $400 a year, which I was a little bit pissed off about. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, okay, I bid 95,000. He bid 94,600. And I was like, I'll come down, man. Like I'll come down 500, $600. It doesn't matter to me at all.
Right.
But at that point though, my entire life, I've been trying to figure out how to do the least amount of work and make the most amount of money so I can go out and have as much fun as I possibly can. And I got addicted right now.
Yes.
So if I get another route, now all of a sudden I have to try to worry about 2 more employees. I got to get the right people in. I have to worry about 2 more vehicles because you have to have a normal every day and you have to have a backup. And so it ends up, it kind of like, I'm at the point, I'm a single guy. I don't have any kids. I'm not married. I got enough, and I don't have to worry about anything where I'm at right now. So
why add the headache whenever you're comfortable now?
What kind of cars are we driving now?
Retired police vehicles. And actually, I just went on an auction for the North Dakota State Fleet yesterday from the hotel room in Kansas. Actually, that's why I couldn't do the podcast yesterday from whatever. But I'm running the retired police interceptor Ford Explorers. They're built really well. They got the bigger, stronger suspension, better brakes, transmission coolers, all that kind of shit. And you can pick them up pretty cheap. So,
what are they running?
I got the ones I bought yesterday. They're 2017, 2018. I bought one of each, and they have right at 100,000 miles on them. I got them for 13.
Oh,
that's a good price.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And I'll get 4 years out of them.
Right.
And the other benefit, the thing that I didn't know when I was young is how people that actually start making money don't have to pay taxes. I now know that. I got that shit figured out. So I can write off a vehicle for my mail route for 3 years. At the end of 3 years, you can depreciate it, and then at that point, it's done. Like you get no more depreciation. So I'm trading getting rid of them every 3 years.
100%.
And in 3 years, each one of my routes is about 45,000 miles a year. So that's 120,000 miles. Right. And so all of a sudden now you got a vehicle that you paid 13,000 for. It's got 220,000 miles on it, but they're still worth $5,000-6,000 and dump it, get something new, wash, rinse, repeat.
Yeah,
it's a good idea. Very interesting deal. You've beaten life. That's a good deal.
Yeah, I found a cheat code somewhere in there, and it all come from reading the paper. Yeah, reading the paper, taking a shit, and having a cup of coffee.
Where did you grow up at?
North Dakota. Born and raised Minot, North Dakota.
Minot, North Dakota.
Yep.
That's a really cool area right there.
It's beautiful up there.
I said that if I had to pick a place to live in America outside of Maine or North Dakota would be a state I would live in because it's like going back in time, especially the small towns there.
Yeah.
It reminds me of what it must have been like in the 50s or 60s in America.
And so like even going from Minot, which now, we had that big oil boom back in the mid 2000s, shit got crazy up there. When I was growing up, Minot was about 30,000 people. Now it's about 60. But I moved out of Minot when I got my mail routes in Stanley. It's only 50 miles west of Minot. Stanley's got about 2,500 people in it. And when you go into the bar on a Friday night, you don't hear people talking about anything other than the score of the high school football game, how the varsity girls basketball team looks. You know, like all the problems have shrunk down. People hold the door open for you. They tell you good morning. They mean it.
Small town America.
That's it. That's it. And like after that, if I'm in even like Amarillo's not a real big city, but I had friggin' anxiety just being there last night. Like it's like, Jesus Christ, there's too many people.
Yeah.
The people don't, and the people in the big urban areas, the politicians, everybody, they don't like that lifestyle that you have in Stanley.
Yeah, well, fuck them.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. They don't like they don't like us living where you don't have to lock your doors and you know your neighbors and you know your neighbors' kids.
Right.
They don't like that.
Yeah, like I got a lot of people just like you guys do that come up there and they hunt with me throughout the year. And everybody's always like, just last week I had my late pheasant camp that I give away a bunch of spots to the podcast for. And there was 4 guys that drove all the way from California. They drove up 26 hours or whatever. And he's like, so do we need to worry about locking our doors tonight? I was like, dude, my keys are in the ignition of my pickup. My wallet's in the center console. And I got $3,000 shotgun in the back seat. And I have never I don't even know where the fucking house keys for my house are at.
I wish I could tell you that I don't believe you, but I don't know where our house keys are either because every one of our doors has now got a pad on it. Even
I got a pad on mine too for when I leave on this trip. I mean, I'm going to be gone for 8 weeks,
and we got cameras on our pads too, so we could do it. But one of our doors, we have camera, but we don't have a pad on it. So Michelle locked the door one night for something, or we were going somewhere. She goes, "I'm gonna go ahead and lock this door." We had somebody breaking into stolen in some cars. We had a car thief, or not a car thief. He was
About 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, going through everybody's vehicles and stuff at night. And Michelle goes, "I'm just gonna lock the door just in case." I said, "That's fine." And she goes, "We were leaving somewhere," and she goes, "We just come out here to the lodge." And she goes, "Do you have a key to that door?" Fuck, I ain't got a clue.
I have no idea where my keys are at.
I'm guessing if we have a key to that door, that it's either with our middle son or with our son in Washington State. But I can go through the back door, the side doors, they all have pads. But we have one door that does not have a pad to it. We don't even know where the key is to the damn thing because we've never, ever, ever locked our doors or worried about it.
Right. It's a great feeling, man.
Yes.
I mean, and the other nice thing that you notice about people out in the country is that everybody looks after each other.
Yes.
So like my closest neighbor is a mile away. But when I'm gone, he goes up there and he checks on my house, makes sure nobody's been fucking around with anything. And then I got my one employee, Marie, she drives right by my house every day. Like I live on one of my mail routes. And so I just tell her, like once a week, just stop in, make sure that the door is still locked and the heat's still working inside the house and stuff like that. And, but everybody kind of patrols everything because everybody knows everybody.
See, people don't realize that either because they think when they're in the middle of nowhere, like out here, they're like nobody's going to know nothing.
Nobody will notice.
Yeah,
Everybody.
I notice everything. If I'm driving down that road and there's a vehicle somewhere it's not supposed to be, or I see a fence the gate that's open that's never opened or something, I notice that, and I'm a nosy fucker, so I will ask or call somebody. I was like, "Hey,
me too.
Did you leave something?" I called a guy the other night. I saw some lights by his tractor, and I said, "Hey, are you over there by your tractor?" "Yeah, we're doing something. Thanks for checking in, Jeff, because we've had some guys steal some diesel lately around here." But people out in the country, we notice. There ain't a lot of us. But we see the same things every day. Anything out of place that we notice that.
Yeah,
but people from the city come out here and they're like, fuck it. Nobody'll notice. It's like that's the wrong attitude.
Yeah,
because
you might not notice in the city because you kind of
there's change all the time.
Yeah, and you keep your head down. You don't get to know your neighbors. You don't, none of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. In the country, like if somebody leaves, like I mean, in a 5-mile area around my house, there's probably 20 people, maybe. But if a family's moving out to go someplace else, we have like a big country block party bonfire kind of a thing where everybody has a barbecue, whatever. So we know exactly who's there. We know what kind of cars they drive, and it comes back into hunting a lot too, where, up there, North Dakota's got some of the friendliest trespass laws that there are. Like if the land's not posted, you don't have to ask permission. You can go and do whatever you want, But I noticed a bunch of vehicle tracks driving through a field when I was out walking on some upland stuff that is posted and I had permission on. And I called my buddy Kurt and I was like, "Kurt, you guys been out? Did you guys lose some cows or something like that? Your field's got vehicle tracks around every slough bottom." And he's like, "No, that's not us." And I was like, "Well, somebody's been driving around your fields out here, probably looking for deer or whatever at night."
Right.
And sure enough, a week later, he caught the guy and ended up getting him arrested for trespassing and all that kind of shit. But he didn't, he has 12,000 acres, you know, and he lives 30 miles from the field where I saw the shit at. He's not up there all the time. You know, they get done with harvest and they're gone.
Right.
You know,
they're not worried about it.
Yeah.
But people don't think about other people being around and seeing stuff. I not long ago, it was a couple of years ago, I drove by a field and I saw a tractor. The door was open, brand new John Deere tractor, and door was wide open. Went and done something. I come back 15 minutes later, it was them. I called the guy up. It's Paul Chambers a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Hey, you got a door in your tractor open. Is it supposed to be open?" I knew it wasn't supposed to be. He goes, "No, I must have forgotten, left it. Do you mind closing?" I said, "No, not at all." But I noticed that.
Yeah.
Average guy in the city would have no clue.
No, not a chance.
You know, I've seen guys leave their lights on in their trucks before or something go on and call somebody and say, "Hey, your light, you want me to turn them off?" Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just being country. That's the way we are out here in the country.
That's it. That's it.
Have this year? So was this the first year that North Dakota did the e-posting of the no trespass?
Last year.
Last year?
Yeah, 21 was the first year.
Are more people going to that?
Yeah. There's a lot more. There was a lot more e-posted stuff up there this year. There was also a lot more plots. So plots is our private land open to hunters or open to sportsmen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we're going to start seeing more of that actually, along with the e-posting, because people are now realizing that if North Dakota Game and Fish wants to pay them to leave their access open, why not let them? Because when I was growing up, it was more rare to see a posted sign than it was to see a field that wasn't.
So there is incentive for the farmers to leave it open to hunters.
Yeah, and the better the habitat, the more they'll get paid too.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. But I think that like it's kind of it's a two-edged sword. So first of all, anything that involves more technology, I'm not a fan of.
Right.
But I think that if they want to do it, it's awesome because it makes e-scouting on Onyx a lot easier.
Right.
But we should go either all in or all out. Like, because now when you see something that's unposted on Onyx, you still have to drive up there, check it for posted signs. Or if, like, in the waterfowl world, this is a big thing anyways, because you're putting on so many miles scouting, and you see a field that's not posted, and then you got to, hopefully you have cell phone service, you got to open up Onyx, make sure it's not e-posted, all that kind of stuff. I would like to see him just do all e-posting or none of it.
Right.
It just make everything a lot cleaner.
Because right now there's kind of this, it might be physically posted, it might be e-posted, we've got to check both.
Right.
So it's either all one or all the other.
Yeah, and the thing with the physical posting that was always kind of a problem too is that when I was growing up, it had to be posted every quarter mile. So like in North Dakota, everything's broke up into mile by mile squares. Somebody might own the whole section. Somebody might own 160 acres of it. And unless you either had a plat book back then or knew the landowner, you didn't actually know who owned what. Nowadays with Onyx, you can kind of see it breaks it down everything into quarters. But instead of having it posted every quarter mile, now it just has to be posted either on the gate or the approach.
Right.
And that leaves a lot of ambiguous room there again, where it just makes everything a little bit more confusing, where it's like, okay, so what are the boundaries here? And so I think that the e-posting, I think actually is going to work, but doing it half in, half out kind of sucks. Like it makes it a little bit tougher.
Well, and I always think about, the old guy that's been going out there for 20 years. He was 50 or 40 when he started going out. Now he's in his late 60s. Right. A lot of those guys, I've got a friend and his dad go to South Dakota every year.
Sure.
If the dad was still going with his buddies that are in their 60s, they don't know how to work on X. Like they're not checking and obviously South Dakota is different, but I'm sure North Dakota has the same old people that have been going there for 20 years. Like a lot of those guys are not tech savvy enough to even look at Onyx. And now you're going to hold their feet to the fire whenever, they've just been going by the way that it has been for years. Yeah.
One of the really brilliant things that Onyx did is that now when you buy a hunting license in North Dakota, you get a free 30-day trial to Onyx.
Well, that's badass.
Which great idea. I mean, what a, like marketing genius right there, because we get tons and tons of traffic and everything else. Part of the problem though, is like a lot of those older guys that have been hunting those spots for years, and I've seen this a lot where they'll actually use that as an excuse for bad behavior. So like, and shit, they might have been hunting it for 40 years, but the person who owned it has it's changed hands.
Right.
And they kind of feel this right to hunt some of these spots now that they don't have.
Right.
And so like, there's a lot of concessions that need to be made on both sides there. I mean, like, it's like, okay, as a landowner, you kind of need to feel for the guy. He's been coming up here for, and I mean, even being a North Dakota resident from like Fargo and coming up into Northwest North Dakota is a 5-hour drive.
Right.
And so they've been coming up there and hunting forever. And maybe that you just bought this piece of land and now it's e-posted, but it's not paper posted. You need to kind of be like, just letting you guys know, this isn't the old landowners anymore. This is mine, and it is e-posted, and you're not allowed to be here. But it's one of those weird things where, but yeah, it's been 2 years now, and I bet, I don't know that the Game and Fish publishes numbers on that, but I bet that the number of e-posted land probably went up 30 or 40% this year.
Just because it's so much more convenient. It's easier than posting signs and let's just do it online and forget about it.
The nice thing that they also did is that they made it so that it has to, if you want to e-post something, it has to be submitted by August 1st. And so that way you're not out there opening day of deer season or whatever, and everybody's pounding posted signs in because they're going to be hunting deer, and you've been hunting there for weeks now or whatever. So if they're going to e-post it, they have to post it before the season starts, which makes it kind of nice as well. Because if you find a spot that's not e-posted and it's not paper posted, I mean, now they can still go out there and paper post it, but it's just one of those. It's a weird deal.
How common was that little trick to like have something that wasn't posted and then you want to keep somebody off of it and you just go put your own little posted sign?
Well, I've seen that happen where people that don't even own it,
put their own sign up to keep people out.
Yeah, it's supposed to have a name on it. And a lot of people would just scribble some ineligible shit on there and be like, oh yeah, it's I don't know how big a dude's balls has to be to do something like that, but
I mean,
Jesus Christ, man. Like, it's like, dude, like how, and what I've had, my uncle, he's a big farmer, and he had a guy 3 or 4 years ago that he come up and he saw this guy's doors open on the side of the road, and he was out walking the slough bottom right alongside the road shooting pheasants. And he's like, hey, man, like everything around here is posted. And he's like, I don't give a fuck if your land's posted or not. What are you going to do about it? And I was like, I'll tell you what I would do about it, you asshole. 100%. Like, I mean, like, and it's shit like that that's getting more and more stuff posted.
They get a ticket and they quit doing that shit, though.
Yeah, but the problem is, like in North Dakota, we have 35 game wardens to cover the whole state. Yeah. Like if you call a district game warden, he might be 3.5, 4 hours away.
What about the state highway patrolman can't do nothing about that?
Highway patrolmen are on gravel roads and prairie trails.
So that guy just knows the chances of him running into game warden are pretty damn slim.
Yeah. You might run into a landowner that's going to shoot your ass or knock a tire out of your pickup or something like that.
See, that's right back to the disrespect we have in our country.
It is.
I can't believe, I'm not going to say in my lifetime I've never hunted on someone's land I wasn't supposed to, but I don't think I ever have. But I don't want some asshole that knew me when I was 20 years old or 16 to come back and say, hey, Jeff, remember when we did this?
Right.
Because I don't think I've ever done that.
Yeah.
Because I don't like to get my ass chewed out.
I don't either.
And that's why I don't know why I got married, because that's all you get is your ass chewed when you get married. But no, seriously, I don't understand.
And I like to have fun when I hunt.
I don't like looking over my shoulder. I hate that shit.
I did trespass in Canada. We did on the state of Canada, or the government of the Canadian government. Me and you both did.
When
me and you were in Canada for that week.
Where'd we hunt? That was not.
We weren't even supposed to be in Canada hunting.
Oh, well, that's a little hard to know sometimes.
No, we knew we weren't supposed to be there doing it. But were you not nervous the whole fucking time?
Yeah,
it was terrible.
It ruined my experience in Canada.
The only time it was fun was at night when you get to go into hunting. As soon as you got back, you're like, phew.
Yeah, got away with it.
It was a horrible deal.
But you got to do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, but that was a miserable feeling, and so I can't imagine shooting a gun, because guns aren't quiet.
No.
And just shooting a gun and just thinking, I get by with that because nobody knows what I'm doing. Bullshit on that, dude.
Yeah, or just assuming that nobody's going to stop and ask, hey, do you have permission to be here?
Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing that. But but the disrespect of someone's property to do that.
Yeah,
I mean that's just wrong.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's changed in the last 20 years. I mean, like with everything else, people just don't respect what somebody else has anymore. And when I mean, I'm not even exaggerating when I say that I bet 90% of North Dakota was unposted when I was a kid. Like, you went out and you just hunted. Right. I mean, like, there was nothing that was posted. You would occasionally start seeing some posted signs going up, maybe for pheasant opener, and then maybe a few more for deer season, because the landowners up there, they're farming these huge swaths of land they don't give a shit about Hungarian partridge and ducks. You know, like they don't have time for that stuff. But when deer season comes around, that's their one time where they get all their family together. Everybody's going to go out deer hunting, and harvest is over by then. So they have a little bit of time to commit to it. And so you'd see a couple posted signs go up then. But other than that, that was about it. And if you knocked on a door, 95% of the people were going to tell you go ahead. And now, I mean, I'm one of the few guys that actually spends a lot of time like getting to know landowners and cultivating those relationships and being good to them and treating their land with respect and all that kind of stuff. And knocking on doors if I'm up in an area where I don't know, you know, if I want to go take a walk, even if it's not posted. Nowadays, I'm knocking on a door because nobody's like, if it's unposted and obviously they don't care if you're there anyways.
Right.
But with everything being a little bit ambiguous and tensions kind of being hot all around the country, I would just rather knock on a door and be like, hey, I noticed you guys got this field over here that's not posted. You mind if I go over there with my dogs and go take a walk for some birds? And they're like, oh yeah, go ahead and go have fun. But it makes me feel better. And I'm sure it makes them feel better. But people are afraid to go knock on a door and talk to landowners anymore and ask for permission. They just go do it.
Is your deer population in North Dakota exploding like everywhere else?
It's pretty stable. So we had a real bad decline in 2009, 10, and 11. In 2011, I think the Game and Fish gave out like 100,000 deer licenses or something like that to a state of 650,000 people. And 9, 10, and 11, we had historically bad winters, and the deer population just crashed bad. I mean, really bad. So in 2012, the Game and Fish went from like 110,000 deer licenses to like 30. Like they cut it in almost a third or in almost a quarter. And but now they've rebounded and the quality of our deer has gone through the roof.
Because I've noticed in a lot of places in the Midwest, Texas, Oklahoma, like our deer population here is 1,000 times more popular than it was when I first moved 30 years ago. When I first moved to Knox County, you'd see deer around the river.
Sure.
In McFadden Lane, which we got a ranch on one side that we have, you'd see deer there, but you didn't see them everywhere else. Now, like we had 2 deer hung up in our cemetery fence the other day. 2 nice bucks that got hung up and got killed there. That was like Tuesday, but we see them everywhere now. Yeah. But I've noticed as the deer population has increased, deer leases have increased, so there's less and less availability for bird hunters.
Sure.
Like because 30 years ago out here, if you saw a farmer and he had a pond in the middle of a field or somewhere and you said, hey, do you mind if I go shoot your ducks? He didn't give 2 shits.
Right.
Now, if you go do that, he goes, I got at least my deer hunting's leased out.
Right.
And places like north of here and some of that ranch country up there, there used to not be no leases. You could go, I could knock on a door and hunt anywhere.
Yep.
Well, you can't do that no more because everything's leased for deer hunting.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if that in North Dakota, can you lease out your land in North Dakota for hunting?
You know, I'm not sure about that. I'm sure that you can, because in Southwest North Dakota, there's a lot of places that have pheasant leases.
So you can lease it out.
I'm assuming, you must be able to. But I don't know if it's not real common any place else other than that. Other than that, what I call the golden triangle of pheasant hunting in North Dakota, south and west of the Missouri River. You know, Mott region, like these legendary places where you're going to go on, walk a old abandoned farmstead and see 2,000 pheasants come out of there. Other than that, it's very uncommon. And there's the deer hunting in North Dakota will never get that way because our non-resident tags are almost non-existent. I think it's 1% of the total deer licenses out there or something like that.
Can you buy an over-the-counter non-resident, or you have to draw for it?
You have to draw. Like residents have to draw. Like I only draw a buck tag every other year.
Now, the pheasant hunting, I've never been on a wild bird pheasant hunt.
Oh,
I was absolutely amazed. That's one thing that I fell in love with when I was in the Dakotas was, first of all, everything looks like a Terry Redland print. Like you're around that Missouri River south of Bismarck and stuff. And I thought, man, this is a cool place. And you see all of that stuff.
Yep.
And it's just a beautiful place. But we take for granted, we don't have that here. Y'all take that for granted. Do you see you said 2,000 birds. That's common?
It's not common, but it happens every year. I mean,
that's crazy.
Like there's this one spot that, again, I got permission on this spot by knocking on a door like 15 years ago, and I've been going back there ever since. And it's a cattail slough that's spring fed in the middle, and it's probably 30 acres, something like that. And we've had 800 or 1,000 pheasants come out of that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, well, I got one video up on YouTube right now that I posted here a couple weeks ago. It was the first day after we got our first good snow of the year. And we were, it was me and one buddy, And in one little bush, there was like 60 birds that took off out of one little bush. We each shot our limit 3 days in a row on one walk per day.
Which one was it?
The Roosters in the Snow, I think. It's got a pile of views, like 80-some thousand views or something like that.
Is it Roosters in Hunting or?
No, it'd be the one before that. Three videos ago, three videos ago.
What's the limit? 3 cocks?
3 roosters per day per person. Yep.
On a good day, that don't take you 15 minutes, does it?
No, I mean, like we've had lots of walks where you're done in one walk.
Pheasants in the Snow.
That's
is that
the
it?
one. Yeah,
That's the one.
Yep. And we got a fresh snow the day before. There was about 10 inches of snow on the ground. It was a little. I had a lot of people that were sending me messages concerned about my cardiovascular health after that, and I was like, "You try walking through knee-deep snow out here for 6 miles on a big walk, and you not be out of breath, because I guarantee you,
Do you
right
know
now,
who Douglas
you fucking
Bell
will be."
is? You know Douglas. He writes for a couple of publications. Good friend of mine, Sunk a War on Instagram. Great guy. He told me, he said, "Guy's kind of a big guy, as much as he walks." I thought, boy, Douglas, you're fat shaming. That's sorry as hell.
Yeah. I mean, like in the month of September this year, I walked 276 miles.
I'll tell his ass. He 276 miles, Douglas.
In
Yeah,
one
don't
month.
judge.
Yeah, it's I mean, like sharptail hunting up there, you're in big country. I mean, like one walk is a 7-mile walk sometimes. 3.5 miles in, and all of a sudden you run into birds, and it's 3.5 miles back. And so the month of September, I averaged a little over 9 miles a day.
So you're in better shape on January 15th than you are on July 15th?
That's why I go to Arizona this time of the year, I'll tell you right now, because if I was going to come down and do the Arizona Mearns quail walks up in the mountains of Arizona in September, it'd be a little rough. But this time of the year, what's
the temperatures like right here right now?
About 12, 13 degrees. It got really nice and warm after that. Like, look at all the birds going out of there.
Wow.
So, and like every little finger draw, there's a big giant draw in this video. You can see my dog standing on point over there. Every single draw that you come up to where it runs up to the edges of these fields, this is what it was like. I smoke a rooster right here too. Just hammer them. Pow.
Boom.
410 number 6's baby.
That's a side-by-side?
Yeah, little side-by-side. That's the same gun that I shot that turkey out of the air with.
Same one.
Boss Loads.
Boss Loads number 6 is right there. And then my dog is coming over here to retrieve that bird. And right by that little brush pile, just to the left right there, he stacks up on point again. He goes down there, and I was like, I wonder if there's a late riser. And I kill another rooster right there.
So are they, I mean, all those birds were flushing up out of there, but a lot of these birds are holding tight.
Yeah, they're burying in the snow. Right here, I kill one too.
They're just everywhere right
Pow.
now.
So, like, if you see that trail right alongside the field edge right there, that's not deer. That's fucking pheasants. That's all
Right there?
pheasant tracks right there.
See, that's what I saw when I drove
It's
up there.
wild.
And it was not snowing, but in the evening, every little place like that would have 50 to 60, 70 pheasants out there.
Look at that pheasant buried in the snow. I mean, like, that's how deep the damn snow was. But this is just the first walk that we made. This is the morning after that snow, and we did this for 3 straight days in different spots every day, and it was just the best hunting that there was, man. I mean, it was incredible.
All I can't get over is 12 degrees.
And that day, I had my face, my wool face mask
Covered
and stuff on, and there was no wind at all, which is pretty abnormal in North Dakota. But it was 12 degrees, sun was out, and we were dressed for it, and it actually wasn't that bad. It was pretty comfortable walking.
Now, I'm glad you're on this, because we're fixing to have a polar vortex here. It looks like around December 19th. They're talking about single digits highs for about 3 days here.
That's cold.
And that's cold for us. Very cold. And everybody up north's gonna make fun of us because we're gonna have some power grid go off because fucking wind energy don't work. And all the Joe Biden, Brittany Griner bullshit and all that crap going on in the world. But that's the reason our electric grid don't work, is because these windmills can't generate, because when it's cold like that, for some reason everything's fucked up. But that dog is outside at 12 degrees.
And that's a short hair.
Is that dog having fun?
Oh, he's
enjoying life?
Having a ball.
We go through this shit all the time. These people don't give a shit about the homeless people. They don't care about their neighbors who are freezing to death. But you see 500 posts on Facebook. Please bring your dogs in. It's a dog. A dog that's outside can handle the weather.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen a pet froze to death. I'm sure they have. Did you need a charger? I got it. Is that mine? Oh, I thought it was Josh Moore that was needing one, not you. Oh, thank God.
Yeah, with like even in short hairs are tough. I mean, they're tough dogs. But he doesn't have any fur on him at all, but like on that one walk, he ran 14 miles or something like that.
They're not freezing to
he
death.
Freaking loves it.
Dogs that stay outside, animals, they can handle the cold weather.
Well, my dogs live inside with me.
Well, that makes it different though. If they come inside all the time, then for them to stay out if you have a dog that's in outside all night and it's 5 degrees and you put them out all night, they're gonna be a little cold.
Oh yeah, but I mean, like, my dogs sleep in bed with me every night. But you let that dog out of the kennel in the morning when you're going on a pheasant hunt. It doesn't matter. Like, I've hunted pheasants when it was 15 below zero before, and dogs could give a shit less.
Have you ever seen Lou get too cold on a goose hunt?
Not on a goose hunt. There was one time we were hunting water, and he got a little cold there.
But he loves what he's doing.
But he was he loved what he was doing. But
by the end of that
video, I quickly bought a vest.
By the end of that video, you could see my short hair's tail was kind of tucked a little bit, and he'd be standing there and he was shaking.
Right.
But then as soon as he'd be out there hunting, and all of a sudden that tail just goes straight up in the air, and it's game on. Like, there's no panting.
The vest is a game changer for the dogs. And these people that don't think it makes a difference, it makes a huge difference. So not everybody runs a vest, but I
only run a vest when he's hunting water.
But it's warm for them.
Yeah, the problem with vests in the snow, though, I've seen this happen one time. I had a buddy who had an English pointer, not the most cold tolerant dog to begin with anyways, but it was like 20 degrees and there was wet snow out there, and his vest got packed with snow.
Right.
And it cooled his core body temperature off, and he got hypothermic on us. We had to put him on the floor next to the heater and all that kind of stuff. But that's just because the vest that he was wearing wasn't fit properly. Right. And it was just packing with snow, and it didn't have any place to go.
Have an ice cooler on him.
Yeah, exactly. So,
have you noticed, like, a big snow like this? I mean, what do the pheasants? They just hole up right like that? Like, is that the best time to go? Is after a big snowstorm?
The first snowstorm of the year when you got young birds.
That's the one.
Oh, dude. Like, they don't understand that they can't hide anymore.
Right.
And so they haven't experienced a time in their lives where they haven't been able to just duck into some grass and have a bunch of shit walk past them. And all of a sudden, they'll snow roost just like, a lot of upland game birds will, where those pheasants will be in the cover underneath the snow. Dog can still smell them.
Right.
And that bird's like, why aren't these guys leaving? Like, I should be out of here by now. Like, or they should be passed. And like, these birds will come up out of the snow. But I love hunting. Like, I talk a ton of shit about pheasants because just like Jeff is saying, like when I was growing up, we didn't have a ton of pheasants around by me, but they're rascals. They don't play by any rules. They run like crazy. They're a nightmare for dogs that don't know what they're doing because they do run a ton. And when you find one pheasant, especially late season, you're going to find 100. So now having a dog that can kind of sort out the difference between what's fresh, what's old, if the bird's moving, if it's not, all that kind of stuff gets to be a real pain in the ass. But that first day after a snow, especially the first real good heavy snow, dude, it's the best hunting you'll have all year.
Really?
All year. Yep.
You get a dog that can point just cocks, that's even better dog.
Yeah. Or if they just let us shoot hens, because let's be honest, it's the only bird that you can't shoot hens on.
How many that's exactly right.
Why is that? I mean, the population's doing
because
okay
you can
enough?
Distinguish between the two.
Yeah, you can distinguish between the two. One rooster will take care, like the last numbers I heard, and I mean, obviously I don't work for pheasants forever and I'm not a doctor. I didn't know if you knew that about me or not. But one rooster at every 12 hens is about right. And, I don't know. Like they're the only non-native bird species that we have in the country that people give that much of a shit about. And I love pheasants. I mean, like I chase a lot of pheasants, but I talk endless amounts of shit about them because I think other birds are cooler.
Right.
Like I'd rather hunt quail. I just got done hunting bobwhites in Kansas. I'm going to go hunt Mearns quail, scale quail, and gambles in Arizona. Hungarian partridge in North Dakota, another import that doesn't get any love. That's an absolutely ball to hunt. Covey bird. They're like supersized bobwhites. Sharp-tailed grouse, another, like they're a native game bird species. They've been up there since the fucking woolly mammoths were roaming around. Nobody gives a shit about them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I don't know why we can't shoot hen pheasants.
How many cocks?
3.
No, how many cocks did you say will take care of a pheasant?
1 to 12.
So one cock rooster can breed 12 hens.
Yep, like most of us in college.
Yep. so or Josh Moore. So what do you do with when you're hunting? Do you see so many more hens than you do cocks in?
It depends. You know, that probably 3 to 1 a lot of times, but you know, like I was saying though, when you find a spot that's got a bunch of birds in it, there's going to be 100 of them in there. You'll see, you know, maybe out of that 100, maybe 30 of them will be roosters and a bunch of them will go out wild, you know. But it's really not that big of a deal. In fact, I kind of enjoy watching people shit their pants because it seems like the hens hold tighter than the roosters do sometimes, probably because they haven't been getting shot at their whole life.
Right.
But you'll get some really incredible dog work on the hens where a dog will be on point and a guy will be kicking around or whatever, and all of a sudden a hen will get up and knock his hat off his head. Mm-hmm. Like, I love watching that, and then I'm yelling at him not to shoot it, you know, because he's like, ah! But yeah, it's pretty fun.
So the birds that were, when you were walking up, the birds that were like flushing out, those are probably like older birds that are like, oh fuck, I've been here before. Like, I can't hide now.
One of my favorite statistics ever is that the average life expectancy of a rooster pheasant is like 7 months.
That's it.
That's it.
So most of them haven't seen the snow.
Yeah. Right. Yep. So most of them haven't. My philosophy on it is that when you're hunting pheasants or any upland game bird, 30% of them are going to hold, 30% of them are going to flush. It's what you do with the other 40% that makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. And like pheasants are a great example. If they can, like, they have really big ears, they have incredible hearing. And so it's that instinct, that fight or flight, or in the case of a pheasant, it's, do I fly right now or do I hunker and hope they miss me?
Right.
And the ones that there's a real steep learning curve on that kind of shit. It's like either I'm going to get out of here real quick, or I might get shot, might not. And the ones that sit are the ones that we tend to crush.
Yeah. So where did they come from? Hold on, Jeff.
China.
They came from China.
Mm-hmm. Our most popular Chinese import.
Really?
Yeah. We didn't sell the farm to get them either.
Why did we? What was the? Was it hunting?
Yeah,
hats and stuff, wasn't it too?
Yeah, a lot of the hatter market, but they were a really popular game bird in England before they were brought over here.
The King of England, they loved them. The royal family
love pheasants, and I had a buddy who was in the army who passing back through from overseas. He went back through England. He's like, Jesus Christ, I've never seen so many friggin' pheasants in my life. I believe that, but the one, like, they started importing them over to the East Coast in like the 1700s, 1800s. The one that finally took, they released them in Oregon in the late 1800s, early 1900s.
So North Dakota didn't have pheasants during the Indian days.
No,
I didn't know when they got here, when they took. So it was, and that makes sense. I guess they wouldn't have had them until. So it was in the 1900s, basically, before pheasants took off into the Dakotas.
Well, my grandpa was born 1934. And he said that in the 1940s and early 50s, they just started getting a whole pile of pheasants, just started showing up. They had a bunch of really nice mild winters and everything else, and they had a bad winter the one year. And he said he can very vividly remember, he's passed away now, but he said they were looking out the kitchen window one morning in like December, and they counted 500 pheasants in their garden. Ooh. And the next year, after the bad winter, they were outside feeding cows and stuff like that, and they had a whole wagon load full of dead pheasants that did not survive the winter. But yeah, I mean, like the 1940s, 1950s is when they kind of started making their big ways into South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Iowa. I mean, there was good pheasant hunting all over the Midwest before the farming practices got super clean. Now, like there used to be a really good pheasant population in Illinois, and even that far to the east. But as the agriculture has changed and the farming practices, where there's not any of that dirty ag anymore, they're clean farming.
Corner.
Yeah, corner to corner. They're taking out all the sloughs and everything else that are out there, all the wetlands. They've kind of been pushed back into and there's no lack of pheasants in the Dakotas or even Kansas. We shot a bunch of pheasants in Kansas this week.
Now, are they as fragile as like the bobwhite, like the quail are? Because the bobwhite always seems to go up and down with whatever weather we're going to get.
The pheasant populations will go up and down, but they can handle a winter pretty well as long as there's thermal cover for them to escape to. So when they're as long as there's tree rows and cattail sloughs and brushy bottoms and stuff like that, they'll be fine. Mm-hmm. The big number swings that we'll see is if we have no rain and there's no insects on the ground because for the first 8 weeks of their life or 6 weeks or however long it is, they basically live just off soft-bodied insects. If we don't have any bugs on the landscape, they don't have anything to eat. They don't have a gizzard developed yet. There's no seeds. They can't eat none of that shit. So then they just won't have any reproduction those years. And on the reverse side of that, if you get too much rain, it'll drown out their nests, or they'll get hypothermic as chicks. So it's they're not super fragile birds, but they're fragile enough where you will see some pretty big swings.
I just read on this in South Dakota, 1911 is when they were introduced. The first birds came in 1890, and the first hunting season was in 1919. They released them in 1911. A guy named Frank Bramble or somebody did. And they got a park by Rowden Waterton's where he did it. And there was in the first year that you could shoot 2 cocks. Only 200 pheasants were killed that year. As soon as the number of pheasants grew, so did the hunting season. Soon pheasant hunters could shoot more birds. In 1944, the season began in September and went through February of the next year. They could shoot 10 birds a day, and they shot more than 6 million pheasants.
Yeah.
Today, you can shoot 3 per day, and the season's not as
6
long.
million?
6 million. But there's that many of them. What do they have, 8 to 10 in a clutch a year?
They can a good year like this last year that we had. 12 is not uncommon.
Will they have more than one? Or
No.
just one? So like a quail will have 3 nests a year on a wet year.
Yeah. So is what they will do is if they lose that first clutch, say that a raccoon gets into them or the nest gets drowned out or whatever, they'll re-nest, but the second clutch is never as big as the first. So if that hen, and it also depends on what kind of condition they're coming out of the winter in. So if we have a really nice open winter where the hen's body weight's up and she wasn't stressed out at all, they can have 12, 14 eggs. If that nest fails, the next one will be 8. The next one, if that one fails, will be 5.
Right.
And the other problem with a lot of these birds is that, and quail and Huns are Hungarian partridge are specifically this way, where if a hen has one chick that survives, she will not renest. So if a raccoon gets in there and eats 13 eggs and there's one left, she'll sit that egg and that bird will hatch, and that's what she'll take care of. So that's how you can see those violent swings in population, where one year, if everything goes right, the population just goes through the roof, where they're having big clutches of 12 and they're not having a lot of chick mortality. And then the next year they have 2s and 3s,
We've got 10 pheasants running around right here, and they eat at that deer feeder every night.
Right.
And they eat at stuff. Could you imagine having 500 in your yard? That'd be destructive.
They'd eat everything.
They'd
Eat everything in your garden.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I don't know. We have a release bird pheasant hunt here, and guys do it in the afternoon. They love it, but it's like an Easter egg hunt with guns. We've been doing it for 20 years. No carryover from year to year.
Sure.
We'll see them in the spring for turkey season. You'll hear a rooster, make his sound or whatever.
One year we saw a hen and 2 little ones, and they were dead. And then the little ones were this big over
But
by
they'll
the tractor.
never.
But that was it.
We've been doing it for 25 years on the same property.
Yep.
No carryover from year to year.
Yeah.
By the time turkey season's over, they're gone. I saw 2 in the ditch up the road the other day.
And I just don't. And I mean, and the number that gets out up here, like you'd figure, they're a hardy enough animal. There would be some native, not like North Dakota, obviously, but you figure you'd see something carry over.
We had a cock here all summer.
Well, yeah, but he was also eating out of the. You just figure there'd be habitat.
But we had one cock that did survive, and that's the first time I've seen that happen, where he was here all summer long.
And the wild thing is that especially around here, with the roosters, you'd think they'd get smashed by a hawk because they stick out like a hard dick at a lesbian convention. I mean, like they're a big giant clown colored colorful bird.
Right, it's preposterous.
Yeah. You'd think that a chicken hawk would be like, oh motherfucker, I got your ass now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and my bet would be, I mean, like on the really good years, when the weather's right and everything else, the birds can expand into places it's not their ideal habitat. But my bet would be that it's probably too hot and it's probably a little bit too dry down here. You guys don't have the wetlands like we do.
Right.
I mean, you guys got enough water around, but like you see, you guys have been up there. You see a pond in North Dakota. It's got 30 yards of cattails all the way around it, and a whole, and that's what they need. They need that nesting cover.
Right.
And
that would make sense.
If you don't have the nesting cover, they can't do it.
Poor Indians ran that country for hundreds of years. They never got to eat a pheasant one. They would have loved them.
They're pretty good. Ditch chickens, man.
Ditch
That's what they are.
Yep.
But And the freaking bobwhite, the quail out here, it is just like this every year.
And it's down, down all the time.
It's down 7 years in a row, and then like on the 8th year, it goes way up, and everybody's like, "Oh fuck, we're gonna go quail hunting again."
Yep.
And then it just craters the year after that.
Yeah.
It's just things aren't stable enough.
What about the supplemented birds? Because I know a lot of guys that sell pheasant hunts in North Dakota, and they buy birds from the same place I buy my birds.
Sure.
And a lot of people go up there and do not realize you're shooting released birds with the wild birds.
Yeah, South Dakota is really big about that too. I mean, out of all the pheasants that are shot in South Dakota every year, there's a huge percentage of them that are. They don't call them pen raised, they call them liberated. Which
that does shock me at all.
Right. They're liberated. It's like, sure they are. They still got liberated. They still got fucking blinders on them. They were liberated 3 hours before you guys showed up here. Is what they were. I'm sure that happens. I mean, like, so when I said that when I was growing up, out by Minot, there was no pheasants out there at all. Mm-hmm. And my uncle, he, like most of us, like shoot pheasants. So he started buying, a couple hundred hens and roosters in the springtime, and he would release them in April or May. And then with the hopes of them breeding and making wild birds. Right. And it seemed to work really well. And so he did that for a long time, for 20 years. And then as well, he was also releasing some chicks that were, 6 weeks old or 7 weeks old, where they're just starting to get a little hint of color on them. Right. And he'd release those sometimes in late July, and he'd release them into a standing egg field, being like, well, like, it takes them again real sharp learning curve on realizing that everything's going to try to eat you forever.
You're at the bottom of the food chain.
Yeah, like everything wants to eat a pheasant. So we're going to put you into this standing canola field or wheat field or whatever, and it's going to give you your best chance of making it to adulthood. And I think that they learn pretty quick. I mean, you only have to almost get killed so many times before you figure out that, hey, we should probably just hide and not and try to not get eaten for a while. But I mean, all the birds, all the pheasants in the country are released at some point. It's just all about trying to get them. And I think that my uncle's formula is right, where if you can release adult birds in the spring, get them to nest and have wild chicks, that's a really good system. Right. Because then those chicks grow up from day one knowing that they're going to get eaten if they fuck up. Right.
Yeah, we can't do that here. They wouldn't last.
Right.
No.
Right. I mean, like if you get farther north in Texas, and like usually when I'm driving down, I'll stop and I'll hunt Kansas for a few days, and right there at the Kansas Oklahoma border, like right south of the Cimarron, there's a little town up there. I always see a pile of pheasants all over the road. Mm-hmm. And then it seems like when you get much farther south than that, there's just not enough grass and not enough habitat for them to nest.
Yeah, even in the Panhandle in Texas where they do pheasant hunts, you have it.
They have some.
They have some, and I'll have some guys go, but I don't know nothing like it used to be.
Right.
And a lot of those people will call me. I'll have guys want to book. We want to book opening weekend. I was like, we don't have opening weekend today. Matter of fact, opening weekend of pheasant season in Texas, I think, was this past weekend. That's how little fanfare it gets. I don't even know when it is, but I think it opens the first weekend in December and closes the Sunday of the second weekend. Sure. I think there's like a 9-day season on it.
Right.
One of our guides, he did they do a family quail or a family pheasant hunt every year? Or how did that come up?
You mean Blake, the liberated pheasant guy?
Yeah, liberating pheasant. So he gets his pastor retired, I think is what preacher retired or something like that. Anyway, he called Jeff. He's like, hey, it's a dry year in Nebraska. We don't have any pheasants, and I want to buy some birds. So Jeff puts him in contact with our guy, and the pastor, they're shooting pheasants, and he's like, man, he wasn't in on the joke.
Sure.
I just cannot believe
how tight these boys.
We're not seeing.
They're holding forever.
We're not seeing any hens. I mean, they're holding really. They're holding nice. I mean, those hens, man, they're really holding. And I just cannot believe we hadn't seen a hen.
No, it's the cocks. They're holding tight. They're holding tight today, boys. Boys, get some good birds today.
And then like he went all day not knowing.
Yeah.
When
I was in my 20s and I had my first bird dog, Ace, English setter. I used to go out and run dogs for a guy who has a preserve in North Dakota, and he'd get these bankers and business guys in from New York and Chicago and every place else, and he's like, man, is pheasant hunting like this all over North Dakota? I'm like, oh yeah, it sure is. Yeah, where you're gonna see 300 birds and they're all gonna be roosters. There's no hens out there at all.
I buy when my guy delivers my pheasants. He told me the other day, he said, I'm probably like 70-30 cocks to hens because they want to save the hens because they're going to breed them to have, and I'm like, that's fine by me. I don't care if I get
taste
hens.
the same.
Yeah, I don't care.
I've eaten a hen before.
But it's funny the people that'll go. One of my other guys worked in South Dakota. I think he worked at a high dollar place. A very wealthy construction guy owned a place. He brought all those fancy bankers and the same type deal. And they wouldn't tell the people they were released birds. Liberated.
Yeah.
Democratic birds, we call them. But he would go get these birds and they would go put them out every morning. At 5 o'clock, they'd put them out in the middle of the dark. And then people would be like, wow. And
I can't believe last week of season and we're just shooting all these roosters.
Yeah.
Like, how is this even possible?
Yeah.
It's like,
and
good hatch.
Yeah. And he just wants to, but those guys only want to come out there and take the picture to put on their desk to show all their buddies how serious of a hunter they are.
Right. Correct.
Like they could give a shit, honestly. And like, I think it's just woeful ignorance where they're like, it's always like this, it's always a good year. And it's like, yeah, it is when you're, if you're going to pay $5,000-$10,000 to go to a place and go shoot pheasants, you better shoot some goddamn pheasants.
Right.
And it's, and when you have guys out there and you're like, well, I think that spot right over there looks really good to me when everything else looks exactly the same. Might be a really good indicator that maybe we just put 30 birds in that spot right there.
I have clients that come here that do just pheasant hunts that used to go to Kansas and they used to go to South Dakota and they used to go to Iowa. And that guy told me one time, he goes, we get to shoot as much or more as we do up there. Yeah. We don't drive 14 hours and maybe get in a blizzard. Usually the weather's a little bit nicer here. And we get to shoot birds.
Right.
That's the same thing. The weather's not as cold. We know we're going to shoot birds. And he said, now we're finding out we're shooting the same damn birds anyways. Just
mostly.
About.
Yeah.
You are shooting some wild birds.
Yeah.
But you're not, you're not having to let the hens fly. You can also shoot hens.
I think a nice way that they put it is that they supplement.
Yes.
That supplements the word.
They supplement the wild birds with non-wild birds.
Dude, if I could supplement geese,
no shit,
I would do the shit out of that every day.
Yeah.
You're in an interesting niche where you are because you're primarily upland hunting and stuff, but you seem like a down to earth guy. I'm sure your DM is quite the eclectic bunch.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you got guys that are just kind of like us and your average ordinary guys, and I'm sure you got some like snooty DMs every once in a while.
Yeah, I get a lot of messages with people asking me what I charge to take them hunting and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, dude, I don't want to be a guide.
Right.
I'm a trigger puller.
Right.
Like that's my title.
Right.
I am the general of the 28 gauge army, and I'm a trigger puller. That's what I do. I don't want to be a guide. I don't want to, I have a couple camps a year where I get to have people come up that listen to the podcast. I give away a bunch of hunts for that. And I treat it almost like an upland hunting classroom or master class in hunting. It's like, okay, this is how you go and find these kind of birds. This is what you're looking for. And then go have fun. I tell everybody, I was like, you're going to see birds. Whether or not you shoot birds, that's not on me. I don't want none of that pressure. At that point, for me, it stops being fun and it becomes, pressure filled, stressful. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys that. You guys go through that all the time. But I get a ton of those guys that are sending me messages or and I try my best to not look at comments because, it can be a fucking cesspool.
Most of the time, I don't even read my YouTube comments.
No, I do right now because I'm trying to reply and grow my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Just because I'm just starting that stuff. And almost all of them, like, I got real tired of the comment of, oh, you're going to have a heart attack. You should go see your cardiologist. It's like, you fucking go out there and walk through 10
Douglas
inches.
Spell. Shaming you.
You go out there and walk through 10 inches of fresh snow and walk 6-7 miles up and down hills, man. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's not easy. And, I guarantee, like, my buddy who was with me, he played hockey in the NCAA. And he's 8 years younger than me. And he was huffing and puffing worse than I was.
Yeah. I know if it's a negative comment, it's going to be on YouTube. And they come in like waves. Like I've noticed. So like we did a podcast 2 years ago, Prince of Poachers #2. And we used to do it in that dining room in there.
Yeah.
We had this TV set up, but there were times where I was too close to it or I couldn't see it or whatever. But anyway, Prince of Poachers, he used to poach on the King Ranch down here. And we had a map pulled up of the King Ranch. And I couldn't see where he was talking about. I've got more fucking shit off of fucking the guy that running the map and he's hijacking the interview and it's just like So anytime
Just
that
shut the fuck up.
anytime I see that video has been commented on, I know it's negative.
Yeah.
And it's just like, fuck.
And that's kind of how it got. I didn't post it on YouTube at all because it wasn't a very long clip. But that turkey I shot out of there with the 410 this spring, the hate.
Yes.
I mean, like, and so it's the biggest video.
Why? I don't understand
Honest to
still,
God,
because we
like-
talked about that today before you got
Yeah.
here. I still don't understand what you did that pissed people off.
So like 90% of all the comments, 95% were all like, that was awesome. Like, nice shot. That looks like so much fun. All that kind of like super positive.
Yeah.
And this is on Instagram. And then there'd be those fucking fat dudes from, and now I'm
Now we're
fat
fat
shaming
shaming again here.
yeah. From you know, Arkansas, whatever. I'm not picking on Arkansas, but wherever in the South, it probably goes and sits in a heated deer stand and an air conditioned turkey blind, and
Right.
you know, they got everything named and they're shooting turkeys that are walking in front of them. I was out there spot and stock turkey hunting in the Badlands of North Dakota, and like I just kept on replying. I was like, "Was it your tag? No,
Right.
then shut the fuck up."
Yeah.
Like they're all like, "Well, maybe if you knew how to call." I was like, "Dude, I wanted to go do it that way."
Yeah.
Like that was fun for me.
I think it's way harder to do it the way that
it
you
was
did it.
hard, man. Like,
Sneaking up on a turkey in
Dude.
wide open country.
yeah, it was hard, and I did it twice this year. The one I just ended up shooting on the ground, and nobody gave a shit about that.
But shooting it out of the air.
I don't understand. Why do they care if you shot it out of the air? I still don't get that.
Well, so I had two different schools of thought. Thought number one is that if you can't call a turkey and you have no business
Can you
shooting
video
it,
that up? Can you pull that video up?
it's on Instagram. It's
I can find
it's
it.
pinned to my videos, I think, to the front. But like that was the first school of thought, is that if you can't call a turkey and you have no business shooting a turkey, whatever. I could give a shit less about those people. Like, I mean, like I started turkey hunting 3 years ago because I'm bored in April and I have nothing else to do. And I was like, shit, I'll go give this a shot. And then the other school of thought was shooting a turkey with a 410 is unethical because how many birds are you going to wound before you actually kill one? I was like, I shot one shell and that thing folded up like a fucking lawn chair.
Yeah.
Also, I'm shooting Boss Tom number 9s or maybe 7s. I can't remember. But like I just got done spending 2 months chasing Mearns quail, which fly 3 times faster and are the size of that turkey's head. And I'm a pretty good shot with a shotgun. I'm pretty sure that a slow ass bird coming off the ground at 25 yards, I can hit it in the head.
Right.
And it's either going to be a hit and I'm going to kill it, or it's going to be a straight up miss.
Total miss.
I'm going to ask you the question people are going to ask. Is that public land?
Yeah.
Anybody could do it,
Anybody can do that,
but nobody else is doing it.
nobody else is doing it.
But
And-
look right here, set hunting back 2 decades.
Yeah.
This is tasteless, skillless behavior that will destroy the hunting heritage.
Yeah.
I don't
Why?
understand.
Right.
I don't get. But these same guys. Now I'm not a turkey hunter, so I've got some bias here right here.
Sure.
I'm about as biased as you can get. I've never shot a turkey. Don't have any intention. I went turkey hunting one time.
Yeah.
And the guy wouldn't let me shoot. So fuck it. I
I
ain't going
called
to
in
Yeah.
a Jake.
That's a turkey.
Yeah, it's a turkey.
Yeah, I see there, and he would let me shoot it.
Is it a legal turkey? It's a legal
yeah.
turkey.
It would have been.
I'll throw the
embarrassed
Jake
him.
brakes on one so fast you have
Okay.
no idea.
We did. We were there 10 minutes, and
It was boring.
the
Yeah.
Jakes come running up.
It was
and
fun.
I'm like, just wait, Jeff. We'll get a bigger one.
With and so like on this one, it's like I just posted. I posted it just because I thought it was cool,
Yeah.
and then it went like semi-viral. It's got almost 1 million views or something like that, and like almost everybody was like, "Dude, that is freaking awesome."
See, I
And,
still.
like it's like, yeah, who
That-
gives a shit?
that
Horrible example for hunters. Like, I
That's-
mean, no calling skills needed.
That
you know,
took
like
skill.
all that kind of shit. Yeah,
But as a
100%. it
but
did.
as someone
What
that
a
doesn't,
loser way to kill
yeah,
a bird.
somebody that's not a turkey hunter, to me, that's harder to do than it is with the reaping fan. And I actually, as an unbiased person, I think it's interesting the guys that use the reap fan. I'm gonna catch a lot of shit for that, but
Sure.
if you can put
looks
some on
like
you and
fun
walk
to
all
me.
about them, I'm with you there.
yeah.
But to call a call and to have a turkey come to you is an art. I understand that, but I don't see where what you're doing should be looked upon down any more than the reaping or anything else. did.
Right.
It takes a skill to call a turkey in with a call. I'll give you that.
Sure.
Turkey hunters are very, very dynamic hunters, and they work hard at what they do. But to be able to stalk and walk, I've been in the woods many, many times in turkey country. I can't tell how many times, Andy, have you walked a turkey up?
Never. No, they're
It's
always
hard to
gone.
do. They're
Yeah.
fucking smart.
Yeah,
So
once you spook them.
Is what ended up happening here is we actually had another Tom that we were going to try to do this with earlier in the day, and we spent all morning long trying to get on that bird and couldn't get on it. I was carrying a 12 gauge at that point. My buddy Nate was also carrying a 12 gauge. He's off to the side, off to my right there. And actually, he had a shot at one, and he ended up eating. He could have shot that one right there.
That one?
Yeah. And I told him, I was like, man, I'll tell you, what I'd really like to do is shoot a turkey out of the air. And he's like, dude, you're never going to get a chance to do that ever.
Right.
And I was like,
they
yeah,
usually
probably
run.
not.
Unless
Right.
you miss.
And so we're driving to go have lunch, and 3 toms and 2 hens ran across the road, and they went up into this little patch of brush here. You can see the roadway down there, and the wind was ripping down that ridge like 15 miles an hour.
That's the road.
Yep. And I was like, dude, we're going to be able to walk right down that ridge with the wind in our face. And it worked out so perfectly because the 2 hens ran out before we got there. And I was like, oh, dude, there's nothing but boys left here. And I was like, first bird and when we were walking up, I could hear them running around down there in the leaf litter. I was like, they're right ahead of us. And that thing got up and hammered him. I mean, like, he hit the ground. He didn't even flop. I mean, you can see his ass end sticking up in the air down there. And it was so, I don't know, like, my whole thought process behind the entire thing is, it was my tag. I shot it the way that I wanted to shoot it.
Yeah.
And I don't like I'm awful at sitting still.
That's why you're a fucking upland
That's
hunter.
why I'm an upland hunter. I hate sitting in a blind. I don't have the patience for it to do it and be successful at it. Also, I'm a terrible turkey caller. And I don't really care to get good because I like spot and stalking them if I can.
Is that in the Badlands?
In the Badlands, yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt man hunted there.
Yeah, and it was actually in the National Grasslands, in the Theodore Roosevelt National Grasslands. So it's all public.
What an amazing place.
It is, yeah. And, you know, while we were out there, I found an elk shed, found a bunch of nice mule deer sheds, all that kind of stuff. Got to watch a bobcat walk around in a little bottom, you know. So that's kind of the cool part about turkey hunting for me is it gets me outside to do something during a time of the year where I got nothing else to do.
Right.
I never wanted to get into turkey hunting because I wanted to become a really good caller and go out there and communicate with the birds and all that kind of shit. Then my other school of thought was, what the hell makes a turkey so special where all other birds across the board, it's unethical to shoot them on the ground?
Right.
What makes a turkey so special that you can only shoot him on the ground?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it effective to let geese land in your spread and shoot him in the head? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Real effective. There's not a lot of size difference between a big Canada goose and a friggin' turkey.
Right.
So what the hell makes it different?
You
Nothing.
ever shot a pheasant running?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah, I have no and like I mean like
You're a trigger puller.
I'm a trigger puller. I drove all the way to Alaska to hunt the 3 species of ptarmigan that they got up there, and when we were hunting rock ptarmigan, they're called rock ptarmigan because they're that friggin' smart. They're smart as a rock. Like, I was throwing my hat at them. My dog's on point 20 feet behind me, and they're running around on the ground in front of me, and I'm throwing my hat at them. I'm trying to kick them to get them to fly, and I had my buddy Hank Shaw with, wild game chef, and they started running out there ahead of us again. They still wouldn't fly. He's like, fuck this. And he skillet shot and killed 3 of them. And then the other 2 walked over and started like picking their buddy. And I was like, all right, I'm in. Like,
I mean, that's right.
Yeah. What the hell difference does it make? I mean, like, is it legal? Yes.
Yeah.
Then shut the fuck up.
How many dove you ever shot out of a tree, Andy?
It's happened.
It's happened.
It makes you shoot better. Let me ask you this.
It's harder
now.
to hit.
But but I don't understand the hate. And you're right though. I've never thought of it like why are the roles reversed with a turkey? Where and like you said, like if you skillet shoot a goose, people are like, oh, if I can skillet shoot her, blah blah blah. But like turkey,
Do you guys call it Arkansas down here?
They say that in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Do they? Okay. Yeah. We always call it. Oh, I'm gonna Arkansas the shit out of that dove.
I've heard it called that skillet shooting.
Yeah.
But that's frowned upon. You get shit like if you post a video skillet shooting a goose that you know you're gonna catch hate. But the turkey, like that's the way to do it.
Yeah, it has this mythical place in it's not really bird hunting, and it's not really big game hunting,
Right.
but it's special. Like
Right.
this is how we have to do this. You have to go out there and you have to roost them at night. Then you have to go out there in the morning and you have to call to them like an owl. And then you have to get set up with your decoys. And then maybe they're going to fly down this way, maybe not, but you can't shoot them out of the tree.
Right.
Even if you can sneak up to the tree, you can't shoot them when they're flying. You have to get them all strutting and puffed up and coming in because they're horny as shit. Like this is how it has to be done.
Right.
It's like, why? Why does it have to be done that way?
I'll tell you why. People that come in and your bitch at your stuff are jealous.
No, or they don't have the ambition to go out there and try it themselves.
I think a lot of it, people just, they sit at home, they get a hunt 3 times a year. And anybody that gets to do it all the time. They're pissed off about stuff. People come here that are pissed off before they ever get here. Nothing about the hunting. They're just pissed off about life in general.
Yep.
And they don't know how to enjoy themselves and have fun. And those same
Right.
people sit at home and they get festered up on a keyboard bitching about everything going on in the world.
Sure.
And the thing that's their thing is the hunting deal. And if it ain't done exactly how they think it should be done, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
You know, they invented this or that. They think they did.
Sure.
And that's the way.
Well, and so it kind of happened the same way with me with my deer license this year. I didn't have it. I wasn't wearing my GoPro, but the way that we hunt deer in North Dakota, there's 2 different ways. Well, 3. There is spot and stalk, which is awesome. Still always going to be my favorite. Number 2 is you go out and you basically hunt them like pheasants. Like you go out there and you get a couple 3 guys and you're pushing through cattails and you're shooting running deer. And then 3, which is hands down the most popular way, is driving around on the roads and shooting them out your window.
A lot of deer killed in Texas that way.
Oh yeah,
high fence or not high fence, high racks.
Yeah,
on a big ranch in Texas.
Yeah,
that's the rich man's way of doing it.
Apparently, a driver's side mirror makes a great rifle rest because that's how I bet 70% of the deer in North Dakota are shot.
It's legal in Texas.
It's not legal in North Dakota, but it doesn't stop them.
If you're not on a public property, if you're on private land on a private road, you can shoot them out of a truck. It's completely legal.
Sure. But how much fun is that? Like, I mean, like to me, that's grocery shopping. That's not hunting. Right. Like if you, and I almost got into a fist fight with a guy 2 years ago during deer season. We're out there and we spotted this deer in the morning and we're trying to put a sneak on it. And as we're sneaking, I can see a truck parked half mile away with a spotting scope on his window, watching us and watching the deer. And that fucker was waiting for us to spook that deer out of the field and run it at him, and he was going to shoot it out of his truck. Mm-hmm. And so halfway through the stock, I looked at my buddy Mike, and I was like, "Dude, just wait here." And he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm walking out there, and I'm going to fucking scream at this guy because I am so fed up with this kind of bullshit." And
he's being smart.
Sure.
He's efficient.
Yeah, he's very efficient. Yeah, his steps per deer is way better than mine. But so anyways, I'm walking out there clearly going to go chew this guy's ass. And I get about 300 yards away and obviously he drives away.
Of course.
So we get done. I end up killing that deer. I shot that deer in the head, laying in the cattails at 7 yards.
Whoa.
7 yards.
Jeez.
And then I got yelled at because people are like, "Oh, you can't shoot deer in the head." It's like, at 7 yards with a scoped rifle, if I can't hit them, I got bigger fish to fry than that. So anyways, shoot that deer, go, and we're going to go have lunch. And we pull up and here's that guy's truck.
Uh-oh.
And I walk inside and he's talking to all these guys about how great his hunt was this morning. And oh my gosh, I was just working so hard and I just had enough. And I walked up and I was like, "Well, you surely weren't fucking working hard when you were sitting there staring out your goddamn spotting scope watching us,
right?
Waiting for us to chase this deer off posted land that we had permission on and you don't, so you could shoot it." And I was like, "Here's the deal. What you're doing is legal, a little unethical, but it's legal. I have no problem with that. But don't say you're hunting deer.
Don't blow smoke up your friend's ass to make yourself seem like a great white hunter."
Right.
What did he say to you?
He's like, "Oh, well, you don't know how much." I was like, I was there for 3 hours. It is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I don't know how hard you went out there and got after it after I chased you off that deer. But I bet that it wasn't real hard. And he just kind of like started stammering. He's like, "Oh, well," and I was like, just
stop.
Did he kill anything?
I have no idea. Don't care. He probably shot a bigger deer than I did. I mean, shit, I don't know. But anyway, so this year, wasn't wearing GoPro, but we're out pounding a piece of CRP. And opening day, deer gets up in front of me at about 20 yards. I'm watching it. I wanted to really shoot a really nice deer this year. Just because we don't get buck tags every year. It's like every other year. And it's running and it's running and it's running. And you know how they got their ears pinned back when they're running. They always look a little bit bigger. It was a nice buck. I'll show you guys pictures. But it wasn't exactly the deer I wanted. But finally at 175 yards, he's running, kind of quartering away from me. I was like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to go pheasant hunting. And I rolled him and I posted it on my story, 175 yard shot on a running deer. This is a deer. And the first comment, 175 yards running deer, that's an unethical shot. It's like, dude, I've been doing this since I was 14.
Right.
Like, just stop.
What about
Unethical. It's ethical if it's something that you're comfortable with.
And it's
like
also
if you're taking a shot that if you're not comfortable at 175 yards,
Sure.
then maybe it's unethical.
Sure.
But if you're comfortable, if that's
Yeah.
a range you're good at,
yeah.
then
I shot a black bear in
let it
Montana
fly.
this spring at 504 yards.
yeah. But I mean, you
I'm
can
fine.
do it.
Yeah.
Those people though, it's the same people. If you go to the waterfowl forum, the biggest mistake, and you don't do this. What kind of duck is this?
Sure.
Then everybody's like, you shoot and
shouldn't
shoot
have shot
shit,
it.
you shoot blah blah. If the duck limit is 6 or 5 or 7, depending on what flyway you're in,
Right.
let's say it's 5, and a duck comes in the decoys, it's the first duck of the morning. There ain't a fucking duck in this area that you can't shoot that's going to be there.
That's right.
So
Well,
if you
the
shoot the one,
odds.
no, what are you going to shoot? You can shoot any duck.
If it's the
you
first
can shoot
duck.
a canvas
No,
back, you can
right.
shoot anything you want to. You can't shoot a bald eagle or a whooping crane, but you can shoot a fucking duck of every kind
Right.
that comes in. If it turns out to be a Eurasian widgeon or
Yeah.
a bakil teal or whatever it's called, bakal teal or whatever it is, spectacled eye or whatever it is, it's legal in Texas.
Right.
So get off the guy's ass for asking what he shot. Everybody's been there.
Yeah.
And if it was a hybrid duck of some sort,
That's cool.
yeah, fuck yeah. You don't know. Oh, that was a Miller's duck. I could see it coming in. Bullshit.
You
have
don't
a
know
fucking
that.
clue.
You don't know
Yeah.
that when you shot it. You
That's
bring
right.
it comes back and you're like, oh motherfucker, I've
Yeah.
got something special
Yeah.
here. I thought
Right.
it was a fucking spoonie or
We shot
whatever.
we shot a speckle belly the other day that was white flaked all through it.
Mm.
The customer kept it, which I don't blame him. I would have loved to have it mounted up here. The guy took it with him.
We didn't
But
know
we
that
didn't
it was
know what's
speckled
that when we shot it.
Sure.
until it came back.
It was just a speck, and then it's like, oh, this is a trophy.
This is different.
That goose right there.
I was commenting on
That
that
goose
earlier.
right there. We didn't know what it was when it got shot. When
Yeah.
it come back, it's like, oh, that's a trophy.
That's a special one.
But
Yep.
you don't know that. But these people just bitch and gripe about stuff. But every one of them would do the same fucking thing.
100%.
Yeah. And how many people do you know waterfowl hunting in the United States of America outside of sliver of California, Oregon, and Washington is going to see a Eurasian widgeon come in and shoot it knowing it's a Eurasian widgeon?
100%.
Yeah. They're going to shoot it thinking it's a widgeon. And then when they get it back, they're going to like,
Or it'll
this
be
is a
in they'll
trophy.
flock shoot into a flock of widgeon and then
Yeah.
they bring it back like motherfucker, I got a Eurasian widgeon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just, but that area up there, they're starting to shoot more of them. It's getting to be more common. People are looking for them.
Yep.
But it don't happen.
Right.
But these people, did you see the duck that Ira McCauley shot the other day?
No.
Did you see that one?
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Absolutely a stud. It's a ball plate, or not ball plate. It was a, what's that, piebald?
Piebald.
Piebald mallard. I've never seen one like this. It's a beautiful duck. But I didn't see one person bitch at him.
Yeah, everybody's
You
like,
didn't-
"Oh man, cool
Yeah,
dog."
Not
Right.
one person I didn't. Look at that thing.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, that is awesome.
That is
but to the untrained I don't want to see your video, no offense to you, Ira, you're a great guy, but I just want to see a better picture of your duck. But I mean, to the untrained person, like, yeah, they might ask a question like, what is this?
Sure. And yeah, it's that's
And all they would get would be they just get stomped on for asking like what kind. I know it's a duck, but like what are the specifics about this duck? And people
Right.
would just pounce on them.
yeah. I mean, obviously you can tell it's a Drake mallard. Other than that, like just asking a question like, "What is this? Like, what the hell's wrong with this dog?"
how many ducks do you think Ira's killed in his life?
Oh,
I don't know the
even
guy, but I bet a
know.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably the only one of those he'll ever see in his life.
Probably.
It's a very rare trophy,
Right.
and it's really, really, really neat.
And what happens if that was the first duck to come in the morning and you're like, "Oh, well, I can't tell if that's a pintail or
Yeah.
if it, or whatever."
I had to let him go because he looked a little different. than other
I
ones.
couldn't tell what he was, so I wasn't going to shoot. Nah, I'm going to pull the trigger.
Yep, but they
Yeah.
catch my shit. All right, before we get out of here, I got a question for you.
Sure.
The weirdest thing you've ever seen, because people ask me to ask this all the time.
You're all over the place. There's no telling what you've seen.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever seen while you're out hunting?
So probably the oddest thing, I got invited down to Arizona 4 years ago now, I think, to hunt with Randy Newberg and those guys. They get invited down they used to anyways. They don't anymore because people were bitching that people from Arizona were bitching that they were blowing up the hunting in Arizona too much, which I get a lot as well. But we were hunting down there and we were driving down this mountain road and there was an illegal standing alongside the road that was clearly like on the verge of death. Like his feet were bloody. He was starving. He was dying of thirst. And he waved us down. He's like, Border Patrol, Border Patrol, Border Patrol. I was like, dude,
He was wanting to get caught.
yeah. Yeah, he was in bad shape. And we're 60 miles into the mountains across the border. I mean, this dude had beat to hell. And we had an illegal surrender to us when we were driving the pickup. We gave him water and went and found Border Patrol, and they went and picked him up and took him back. But that's probably the oddest. I mean, like we've had, I've been walking in a spot and like in a fresh snow, and then walked out and found mountain lion tracks in my tracks before. That's always an eerie feeling. When I was bear hunting this spring in Montana, we had I pulled the trigger at 8:15. We didn't get it located until dark, and we didn't get off the mountain until 1 o'clock in the morning.
Ooh.
And we had wolves ripping in the background.
Jeez.
That was a little bit unsettling. That was pretty cool.
These are hard questions too, because I was on a different podcast the other day, and the guy asked me, what's the weirdest person you ever had, or blah blah. And I was like,
weirdest person you've ever had?
Who's the
Oddest
most
guest.
famous, the oddest? Have you ever had, the strangest guest or whatever you've had? And I'm thinking, damn, these things are hard to think when you don't think about it for a while, just off the cuff.
Everybody's a little quirky in their own.
Have you guys ever had a podcast that went so bad you didn't put it out?
No. Jim Kearns, because of the
we've had like technical difficulties,
issues,
but we've never had a guest just like shit or us shit the bed. I always put it on me.
I've had a couple guests shit the bed.
Oh, really?
Bad. Yeah. I had one guy who I found that anybody who lobbies to be on the podcast probably isn't going to be a real good guest.
We've had a couple of those.
Well, yeah. It's like, like now I started roughly at the same time you guys did. I think August was 5 years for me. And this guy's like, oh, yeah, I want to come on and talk about it. And I was newer and didn't have any idea what the fuck was going on. And I had him on, and 10 minutes into the conversation, I knew that it was just an absolute abortion of a podcast already.
Yeah.
And I was like, so then like my morbid curiosity continues, where it's like, I know I'm never going to put this out to anybody else, but I need to see how bad this gets. And it was so bad. Like it was atrocious.
Yeah.
I think I've had 2 or 3. And then I've also had people where they've, you talk to them and they're great, and then they get on the microphone and they just shut down and start giving like 1-word answers. And it's like, dude, I only have so many questions prepared. You need to help me out here a little bit, because otherwise this is going to be a 14-minute podcast, and I need to fill an hour and a half of content or an hour of content, and you ain't going to get it done. And it's like, and then I'll just turn off the mic and be like, this ain't live.
Right.
You're not on radio.
Right.
Like if you say something that's incorrect or that you're embarrassed about or whatever, I can take that out. Mm-hmm. And so either we can just stop if you're really uncomfortable, because clearly you're really uncomfortable, or you need to start like just forget about the microphones and just have a conversation.
Yeah.
We got an advantage because it's us too, so we've carried some podcasts.
There's been a lot that we
bet.
have that we've carried. But you're exactly right. The worst is like you ask a question and yep, that's the answer.
Nope,
yep.
Yeah, I did that once.
And you're like,
come on, man, I'm teeing you up here as best I can, and you're just
knocking it out of the park. You know? Like it's your life. Talk about it. You know it better than anybody.
Right.
Like, but that's what we've had a lot, that it's just like today. I didn't have any questions prepared or anything, but
we just sat down and shot the shit.
Yeah, but that's what people enjoy, and that's what people want to hear. Like they don't these you can have obviously a script to kind of base your conversation around. But the fun thing about these is all the side alleys and the tangents that you go down.
We've never had an outline on any of them. Yeah. I look at that clock right there on the deal, and if I look up there and we're at 15 or 18 minutes,
it's a long podcast.
Yes.
Yep.
Because usually if I look up and if it's 45, or like when I looked up at ours, it was a 57-minute mark. It's a good podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
But when I look up and it's 15 minutes, I'm like, motherfucker.
Yeah, you're sitting there watching the clock tick.
It's going to be a long 30 minutes to get 45 minutes out of this guy.
And then I just like you guys, I do a lot of podcasts over the phone or whatever. And if you're sitting there and your mind is wandering to other things that you could be doing instead of this right now, it's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And like, I learned at about the 2-year mark of podcasting, it's like, I can't fake a conversation.
Right.
Like I can ask questions, but if you're not helping me stay engaged in the conversation, it's just not going to work. Right. And like I put a lot of those out in the first couple of years because you don't know what the hell you're doing.
You have to. You have to put stuff out.
Right. Now I'll just turn the stop recording and I'll continue shooting the shit for a little while. If the conversation gets good, I'll turn it back on. But otherwise, I'll just be like, yeah, this is never gonna. Like I've killed probably 5 in 5 years.
We have never had
The
one
worst
like that.
is when they lobby to get on, and then you get them on, and then
Boring
it's
as
just
shit.
like,
Yeah.
you wanted to be here.
Yeah. The other ones that I have a hard time with are some of the sponsor podcasts where it's kind of one of those things where you feel sort of like you have to, and then they're not entertaining, or the company will put up somebody that's kind of boring, and it's like, oh, fuck. Like, I guess I kind of have to do it because you guys are paying me money, but boy, I don't want to talk to this guy. You know, I've had a couple of those over the years too, where you just kind of fake your way through it and grin and bear it for 35 minutes, and you add it like I'll just if it turns out to be a short podcast where it's bad like that, where I'm just not enjoying myself, like that's what I use as a measuring stick. If I'm having fun, then that everybody else is going to have fun,
Right.
Which is why I'll have some podcasts where I haven't done it so much anymore, but where it's me and my buddies drinking at the end of the day after we've had a good day, bad day, or otherwise. Those are always the ones that are the most fun for people to listen to, because it's like, you know, you get an insight into what it's like, whether the microphones are on or not.
Yeah.
But if it's going kind of bad and I'm struggling, I'll tell everybody about my week for 15-20 minutes before in the intro, and then I'll just put that out because I'm not going to fake my way through another half hour of this bullshit.
The guy that calls me up and says, I'm real funny. I'm a real funny guy.
I'm a
is
real
usually
good.
not
I'm
very
a real funny guy. It's got a lot of stories.
Never funny. Yeah.
No.
If people say they're funny, they're typically not.
Yeah.
So did you train your own dogs?
So the way that I do it is kind of a little bit of an old school way. I just take my dogs hunting. My dogs know how to do 2 things. They know how to stop when I tell them to whoa, and they know how to come back when I tell them here. That's it. That's all the hunting. That's all the training that I do. All the rest of it is just pouring them into wild birds. So I got a little 7-month-old setter out there in the pickup right now that she knows her name. Whether she listens to it or not is a coin flip. But you know, we've already shot almost 30 birds over her, pointing wild birds, and you know, that's just the experience that you can't teach them. You just kind of got to take them, and you know, just got to trust the genetics are there, and let them kind of go and be bird dogs and figure it out on their own. And with me having the amount of time that I have, getting to hunt, I think this year it'll be a little over 150 days I'll spend in the field, in 7-8 states. That's that invaluable life experience that will turn them into a bird dog all on their own.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so much to be said for that. Like the dogs are literally bred to do what they're doing.
Right.
Like you're only, you know, you can, like with a lab, like obviously it's handy to teach hand signals and stuff like that, but the basics should be there.
Right.
Picking up the bird and coming back to you, you know, that should pretty much be set in stone.
Yeah.
It's a Labrador Retriever.
It's right in the name.
You're just stepping on this animal by you're hurting it more than you're helping it by being out there and hollering at it the whole time.
100%. I won't hunt with people that yell at their dogs constantly anymore because it's irritating to me, and I understand that the dog doesn't know what it's doing right and what's doing wrong.
Right.
Like you just need to kind of just shut your mouth and let the dog do what it's going to do, and then you can train it to do things better or take some out. You know, I had a guy that I know, he's a bartender in Minot, and I was sitting in there and he's like, man, I've been watching all your videos on Instagram and shit like that. He's like, how do you teach those dogs how to point like that? And I was like, well, you don't, it's genetic. And then he's like, what do you mean? I was like, and I sat there for a second. I was kind of trying to figure it out. And then I came up with what I feel is probably the perfect analogy. I was like, the first time you seen a penthouse, did you get a boner? And he's like,
natural.
yeah. I was like, did you know why you got a boner? No, I don't know why I got a boner. It just happened. That's why that dog points.
Why the dog's pointing.
Dog doesn't understand what it's doing. It just it's like, oh, I smell something. Like, it's like, you know, you're in math class and all of a sudden you get a hard on. It just happens. Like, you don't know why you did it. It just happens.
It's just fucking its nature. I don't know. The worst when you were wearing wind pants in math class and got a boner. You had to tuck it under the waistband.
Yeah, that's it.
Terrible. Put the books in front of your crotch.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, and I'm very laid back with my dog. Like when I send him, because most of the time I don't have a very good bead on where I know in the vicinity of where the bird might be.
Right.
But it's just like, I'm going to send him and then I'm going to trust him to do what he does at 200 yards or whatever.
Sure.
He's going to use his nose and he's going to use his resources to find the bird.
Yeah. You always got to trust the hunter with the longest nose.
Yeah.
I mean, like you can handle them into the right area. But I mean, like, so that's the thing that blows my mind about labs. What you guys can train those things to do, because I mean, they want to go out there and bring the bird back to you. Like that's like we were talking about, that's in their name, that's in their nature. But the amount of after, like before the shot and after the shot training that you guys can do with the whistle sits and all that kind of the hand signals, that's awesome. With pointing dogs, I kind of want my dogs to be a little bit less connected to me. I don't want a dog that if I was walking in a straight line, I was going to find those birds anyways. I need those dogs to go out there and find them for me.
Right.
And then I need them to stand there until I get up there and I can shoot those birds. So it's like with one, you want them to do exactly what you want them to do when you tell them to do it. And then with the other ones, like with mine, I took one walk this year with my short hair Bo, who's 4 years old. And I walked 7 miles and he ran 29.
Ooh, shit.
And we ended up shooting a bunch of birds on that walk, and none of them I would have found without him.
Right.
Like I'm wearing a Garmin GPS watch and he's got GPS collars on. And at one point, my watch goes off and alerts me the dog's standing on point, and I look down and he was 511 yards away. And he stood there for 12 minutes until I walked over there. The birds went up, shot some birds. He went and fetched them, brought them back to me, and then he's out there looking again. I wouldn't have found those birds 500 yards over 2 fucking ridges over there. Like I wasn't going that way. I was going this way.
Yeah.
And he found them way out there. Like, so it's the same thing, but it's different. Like with the pointing dogs, you need them to be, you need to have them have manners, but that's one of those things that I think that the birds are going to teach them better than I can teach them.
Right.
Like the birds are going to tell that dog, they realize that if I'm not part of the scenario where, if he can stand there and smell those birds for 10 minutes and know that they're right there and not move those birds, when dad gets up here, those birds are going to flush, and then that loud stick that he carries is going to go off and a bird's going to fall out of the air. Then I get to go over and pick it up. Otherwise, I'm not going to get those birds.
Right.
And they have to understand that, make that connection with, they're out there hunting on their own, but they're hunting for you.
Right.
And that's, it's a beautiful thing when you could see it.
Can they, will the dogs, do you hunt them like in pairs a lot to where no, never? So the 7-month-old, it's just you and her.
It's her. I will take them out for a little while when they're puppies, just because the old dogs know where to look for birds, whereas the puppy's just kind of being a dumb puppy and running around doing whatever. And if it happens to find birds, great. If it doesn't, otherwise, then it doesn't. But the old dogs know what cover to go and look at. So like when we're walking across the prairie, for sharptails, my old dog, Rusty, my setter, 9 years old, he's seen thousands and thousands and thousands of birds. He's like, well, shit, that looks like a good spot over there. I'm going to go run 350 yards this way and go and check that spot out. I can let that little puppy run with him for a while. And when I stop doing that is when the puppy is looking for where the old dog is at. Right. At that point, that's my key, that now that dog is just following that dog.
Right.
So then it's only one dog at a time and only hunting her by herself. And some walks are going to be good walks. Some walks are going to be bad walks. She needs to figure that out as well. Not every time I open up the kennel, you're going to find birds, because I hunt wild birds. Like, you need to go out there and look for them on your own. You need to figure out where to look for them. And then after that, it's all instinct.
When can you kind of tell, like, if your dog is going to make it or not? Like, if it's going to be a good one?
Sure. It's kind of different with every dog. All my dogs, I take them out as soon as I possibly can. So, boy, you want to watch me get people mad at me? Here we go. I think that checking to see if a dog is gun shy is horseshit a little bit. Like if it's a well-bred dog genetically, and you can tell at 8 weeks old that the dog is bold and not afraid of anything and jumping off the porch and tackling other dogs and has confidence, it's not going to have a problem with the gun.
Right.
Like that's not going to be an issue. So I take my puppies out really young. So I picked up this setter at 12 weeks and I shot a bird over her at 14 weeks. And it was a bird that, like, I kind of have a milk route where I know there's going to be birds, and especially in September and October for huns and sharptails. And I took her on a walk. I was like, I know there's 3 coveys of huns out here. And I took her into one spot, and sure enough, that little tail just went straight up in the air, and she went on point and held it for about 4 seconds and then dove into a covey of huns. and I shot a bird for her, and she'd never heard a gun before,
Right.
ever. But I knew that wasn't an issue because she was a confident, well-bred dog. She wasn't afraid of anything. There was no fear there in her to begin with. And so I'll take them out there really, really young and just let them go out and figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, boy, that probably did piss a lot of people off.
Yeah.
Like, there's an age, by God, that you don't mess with.
You don't take that dog out till it's 4 months old. Bullshit. If that dog if that dog isn't and sure, like if you don't know how to read your dog, and if you're gonna baby your dog and your dog's afraid of everything, you might want to take it really easy. But with 99% of the dogs, people can make them gun shy more than it's not a genetic thing.
Right.
Some dogs are just nervous and they're not mature enough yet to have any confidence in themselves. So, by the time, and you just kind of have to trust the breeding. So if that little dog that I'm talking about, 7-month-old, if I went to seen her point at all this season, I would have been okay with that because I know that in the last 3 generations of her breeding, there's 7 national champions.
Right.
She's going to point.
Yeah.
Like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like getting a lab from a well-known lab breeder and being like, I'm going to teach this dog to retrieve. No, the dog should do that on its own.
Right. Yeah.
Like whether it's going to do it right away or not, it's going to do it.
You don't teach a dog to retrieve. That's all basic instincts.
Yeah. It's the same with pointing.
Yep.
And, it's kind of one of those things. But with all my dogs, I hunt them one at a time because I hunt a lot.
Right.
And so my goal at the end of every day, September, October, November, is I want each one of my dogs to get to go on one walk and get one bird shot over it. That's my goal every day, is I want each one of those dogs to have an experience, good, bad, or otherwise, because they're going to learn as much from the bad experiences where they took that one too many steps and the birds went up out of range, or they're going to learn from the good experiences. But I want them to have that every day. With the puppies, it's more important even than the old dogs. The old dogs figure that shit out by the time they're 2. They're like, oh, this is just what we do.
Right.
And then when I go to Arizona, things start getting a little bit different because the country is so much harder on them than it is up in North Dakota. They're not running through wheat fields and dirt. They're running on rocks and cactus.
You worry about rattlesnakes?
I've only ever ran into one rattlesnake in Arizona, but my rule is that if it's over 70 degrees for a couple days in a row, I'm not going to hunt because that's when the snakes are going to come back out. But I know an old rancher guy over there who's a mountain lion hunter. He's in his 80s. He still rides mules and chases lions. He's a legend. Warner Glenn's his name. I've known him since I was a kid. And he said in his life, living there in southern Arizona, he's seen less than 10 rattlesnakes after Thanksgiving in his life.
Oh, right.
Well, he can move here then because we could show him to him in one hot spell.
Yeah,
they're getting bad around here when it's not at the lodge, just in this area.
Sure.
As soon as it warms up again, their fucking snakes are coming out. And they used to you used to not see them at all.
Right, and that's and where I'm hunting over there for Mearns quail and stuff, we're at 4,000 feet elevation. And it'll get to freezing every night.
Right.
And so an average day over there in December and January, it's probably going to get to 60, 61, 62, but it's going to be 28 at night. Right. Those snakes aren't out.
Yeah.
I have more problems and more worries about snakes in Montana in September chasing sage grouse than I do in Arizona.
Right. Just because they haven't dead up yet.
Right.
I saw a funny meme that said, welcome to Arizona, where you have to dress for winter, in the morning, fall, midday, and then summer afternoon, and then back to winter.
That's right.
That's Arizona in a nutshell.
That's it.
We'll start wrapping up here. I got to go pick up my kid. You're going to Arizona for like 2 months, chasing scaled quail, Mearns quail,
and gambles. Yep. Mearns quail are my favorite, hands down, because they live in these really beautiful oak-filled canyons up in the mountains. Also, the least likely bird that I would like because I'm fat and from the flatlands. But they're the tightest holding game bird in North America, in my opinion. They hold forever for pointing dogs, and they live in these beautiful canyons.
Have you done the sage grouse that Douglas fell?
Yep.
He said those people are just like glutton for punishment the way that they hunt.
Well, I'll tell you, we hunted Montana this year for sage grouse. You can shoot 2 birds per day over there the whole month of September. And the first day we were out, we were 14 miles into the day walking, before we seen our first one. And then on the next walk, we seen 150. and shot my limit, and my buddy shot his limit, and it was awesome. And we remember that walk, but the rest of the day sucked. So
Keeps you coming back.
yeah, I mean, it's, it's just one of those things. Now I'm at the point where I've shot every legal game bird in North America except for chucker partridge and valley quail.
Where do you have to go for those?
Idaho, Nevada, Oregon. And I'm planning on doing that on my way back home from Arizona end of January.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it has been a lot of fun talking to you. We've got almost 2 hours, so I'm glad we did this in person. It's a lot better.
Always better.
There's a lot lost in translation on Skype and stuff like that.
So you're on your way to Arizona tonight?
Yeah, I'll get someplace in New Mexico tonight. I got to pick a buddy up. He's a bush pilot, actually, from Alaska. I met him up there this last year in August. He took me flying, and he's coming down. He's from New Mexico originally, so he's flying into Tucson tomorrow.
So where you driving to tomorrow? Tucson then?
Tonight I'll drive someplace in New Mexico. Tomorrow I got to pick him up at the airport in Tucson.
You going through El Paso or are you going through Albuquerque?
Well, I think this one takes the route here. There's two ways: one through El Paso, and the other one through basically through the middle of New Mexico. I think, like Roswell, and then kind of starts to snake into the south.
So you're going to go
southwest.
that way.
Yep. Probably.
There ain't much to look at until you get to New Mexico then.
No shit. Yeah.
Pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Good luck. Have fun in Arizona. It sounds like it's going to be a great trip.
Hopefully, I'm going to shoot. I shot some cinnamon teal down there last year, jumping a tank.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Cinnamon teal and Mexican ducks.
Oh, boy, you're going to piss even more people off now.
Well, God bless you, man, and have you good, safe travel, and have a great Christmas.
Thank you guys for having me on. This is fun.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. All right, everybody. Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, before you leave, listen, it's Christmas season. You got to go buy all those Christmas presents. Check out Boss Shot Shells, Dive Bomb Industries, Gundog Outdoors, Dirty Duck Coffee, Ducks Unlimited, Double T British Kennels, Stanfield Hunting Outfitters, Bangtail Whiskey, Alpha Outdoor Specialties, Looking Glass Podcast, Hunt Proof App, Lucky Duck, and Mossberg.